guys, welcome to Across the Ring. My name is William Mayhem Michaels.
This is the scientist, Carl Schupfer, and today we're here with GMO. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. You already know. It's hero time.
Heck yeah, that's right. Hey, Gio Kaminari, why don't you tell the people, our fans, a little bit about yourself so they can get to know you right before we jump into this wave of things we're going to do?
Well, hero of heroes. Pretty obvious right there. My name is GMO Kaminari. I am 18 years old, wrestling out in El Paso, Texas. Going around now in Arizona. I'm just pretty glad to be here, to be honest.
Heck yeah, man. We're excited for it too.
So, GMO, how did you first get introduced to wrestling as like a fan?
Well, I kind of feel like I started a bit late compared to like the others. They're like younger kids. I didn't get that passion, I guess, until like late into middle school. My family used to like just like sit down in the on the couch and we would eat. And my stepdad was scrolling through channels and he put on WWE. I just remember like this one episode really like stood out to me. It was a match with Sin Cara, Cinta de Oro now versus Andrade.
Mm-hmm.
And I just saw like the fast pace, like the lucha libre. It really like stood out to me. So I was like, wow, like what is this? And I actually never wanted to be a wrestler. It was more my little sister. She saw it and we talked about it and she was like, I want to do this. Like this is my dream now. I'm like, oh, okay. And like it stood out. It stuck in my head. I was like, wow, like this is pretty interesting. And we kept watching. She keeps going like, I want to be a wrestler. I want to be in the WWE, all this and that. And it just hits me like, what if I do it too? Like, what if I do this? So I started looking around, and I told my mom like, can I do this? She was like, sure, but first let's get you try it out in high school first. Try out amateur wrestling. I said okay. Still researching professional wrestling here in El Paso because we don't really have a lot of it. Didn't have much of it at the time, and I came across a podcast that Sin Cara was on, and I asked him where I can start training. He sent me off to a guy named Hurricane Hector. He was trained by Gori Guerrero and alongside Eddie Guerrero. And I went up to my mom like, can I do this? I want to do this now. Like, I need this right now. And she was like, whoa, slow your roll, kid. Try it out first. Try this year
Mm-hmm.
in high school, and then you can go. So I did that. Went in my freshman year into high school. Lost. I didn't know what was going on, and I went in. My coach, Coach Aldo Meza, he was like, "So why are you in here? Like, what brings you here?" I was like, "Well, I'm not like the others. I don't have like this goal of being like the best amateur wrestler. I want to be a professional wrestler. I want to be el luchador is what they would call me. I want to do this." He was like, oh, "Okay, we're gonna get you there." So that year passes. It's my summer between my freshman year and my sophomore year. I'm about to turn 15 and I start training professionally, and
That's
that's where
awesome.
I got my mark.
That's a hell of a story. I mean, to go from flipping channels,
Yeah.
and even at first you're like, oh, this is cool, I guess, but not even being the first person in the living room to think that that's the dream. To all of a sudden you're training amateurs that you can start training professional, and you're on this track, very focused. Sounds like it kind of happened kind of quickly.
Yeah, I'm the very type of person that once I want something, I'll go get it. Like that's just how I am.
So you mentioned that the match that caught your eye was Sin Cara and who's the other person?
Andrade.
Andrade. That's right. So that Lucha Libre. Who else did you watch to kind of like that really dug you into it outside of those two? Because there's a lot of luchas around, especially in El Paso.
Like watching like just like the Sin Cara name. Like I would watch all those matches, and then that got me hooked on like the original, the first Sin Cara,
Mhm.
Místico, which brought me down to like AAA. I would watch a lot of their stuff down in AAA. Rey Mysterio was a big one. Kalisto, the Lucha Dragons. I guess it was more like Sin Cara. Like that's the one that attracted to me the most, just because
Okay.
he was from El Paso, and I was like, I want to be like him. Like
Yeah.
that's my goal.
Heck yeah.
That's pretty cool. Like a hometown hero, that's something I think a lot of people like. I know in Wisconsin, they celebrate this guy, the Crusher. That was the guy that put Milwaukee on the map. It's cool that, in El Paso, you had, heroes from your town as well that you can be like, yeah, this is the guy that, carried our banner and I want to be the next guy. I think that's really cool.
I don't know. He was just a really big influence on me. I was always like one of the guys like who would go off just to like meet him. I got to train with him a couple times, which was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Like
that's
I never
super
thought I would
cool.
be able to do that. Never thought.
It's not every day you get to meet your influence, right?
Nah.
Speaking of influences and stuff like that, your mom said, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's try it out." Would you consider your mom your biggest supporter, or your sister, since she kind of wants to follow in those footsteps that you have, or
I guess
someone else?
it was like my entire family. Like I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know we had like that, I guess, like in wrestling. Like once I started watching it, doing a lot more of it, it came out. My cousins, they would talk to me a lot about WWE and just like
Mm-hmm.
wrestling. My grandpa would tell me stories of when he was a kid, he would watch professional wrestling here in El Paso and Juarez. And I never had that type of relationship with him until professional wrestling. So I guess my
Oh
entire
wow.
family just like meld together after that to me, and we had like
Sometimes it's hard to bond with different people, especially like when you're a kid and they're adults and stuff like that. So to find that thing that's like, all right, cool, we have our thing to talk about, like that's huge. And it's cool that wrestling got to be that glue for you to kind of stick to your different families. You talk about how Sin Cara is kind of one of your biggest influences in terms of like a hero and someone that you kind of model yourself off of. And it sounds like a lot of your spirit kind of comes from, your family and stuff like that. When you first got into training and stuff like that, um, did you find that, okay, like, these styles were stuff that like fit you right away, or did you kind of find that as you're training, you kind of had to, navigate yourself through what worked for you?
naturally I'm like pretty athletic, so just like the first couple days were really rough on me. Like muscle soreness as like a 14-year-old, 15-year-old, I was like, oh, and then having to go to school the next day, it was pretty hard just to like adjust to that. But I found my way. For me personally, that amateur wrestling was a lot harder for me than professional wrestling. I do not know why.
I
Like,
would I would say because probably your passion followed pro
Mhm.
wrestling and not so much amateur. Not
Yeah.
everybody that goes into pro wrestling came out of amateur wrestling. I mean, there's a
Mhm.
lot that didn't do amateur wrestling at all and made a
Yeah.
big name for themselves. But when the passion's not there, it's just like, oh, okay, I'm here just to,
Yeah.
But when you're in pro wrestling, you're like kind of like our podcast. We're
Yeah.
like, yeah, 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 this, oh yeah,
Yeah.
and you get to kind of experiment with that. But what I find interesting is your Arizona tag team partner, Cosmo. Both of you were like, I don't really do sports. Let's do pro wrestling,
Yeah.
and you're both like that luchador style, and that's insane to me because that's such a fast paced, like most athletic type of
Mhm.
wrestling you can do.
And then something surprising I didn't find out until like I met Cosmo was we actually went to the same high school.
Huh.
Yeah,
No kidding.
I think when I was a freshman, he was a junior.
Oh
Oh wow.
wow.
Yeah,
That's
like
crazy.
we never crossed paths. Never crossed paths until
Oh,
we met at Pro Wrestling Zen at the time.
Zen. Yeah, before it became PWL.
So speaking of, family, high school, stuff like that, when you're not doing wrestling stuff, right? What are some of your hobbies and stuff like that? How do you like to spend your time?
Well, I'm still like a kid, so I love watching like cartoons. I really got big into animation actually. Back in high school ish. I went to state for that 1 year actually. Animating. It was
Wow.
really fun. Like just like
Oh,
watching
that's
like
that's dope.
yeah,
I didn't know that was a thing.
yeah. It was like I guess like just seeing like the movement.
Hmm.
It caught my attention. So animation. I'm very artistic. I'm creative. I designed my own gear, drawing, video games too. I don't know. I guess I really like the movements, if that
Mhm.
makes sense, like
Yeah, yeah,
bringing inanimate objects to life.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I really love that.
Well, and animation plays such a huge role in video games, so that makes a ton of sense. You know,
Yeah.
what are some games that you're really into right now?
Well, like right now, I bought myself a Wii, so Super Smash Bros. And
So
Ben
funny.
10 Omniverse 2
Yeah.
and the Spider-Man game, Spider-Man Ninja Time.
Heck yeah.
Okay.
All right. I know, Carl, you just went and watched the new Spider-Man movie not so long ago, didn't you?
Yeah, oh yeah, that was great. And I also got done finishing a video game, so
Yeah.
all fits right in. I just finished this game called Viewfinder that was really cool. It's this like puzzle game.
Uh-huh.
Super cool. I totally suggest it. But so for you, you like a lot. It sounds like you like a lot of fighting games, a lot of like,
Yeah.
action games. That's kind of your style, which makes sense because with the lucha influence as well.
What type of anime, like what anime episodes do you have that you like to draw inspiration from in your art and when it came to your costume? And I also want to mention before you answer that, I'm 35 and I still watch cartoons, bro. So don't even put an age on that because you're gonna kill me.
Well, like one that has like a big inspiration for me and like my character, the overall,
Mhm,
is Ben 10. As I was getting into wrestling, I started getting back into that show for
mhm.
whatever reason. There's one guy, his name is Curly the Artist. He made a web comic on it, and I guess that brought me back to just like watching Ben, like
That's
watching,
cool.
yeah, like this 10-year-old has the power of the universe on his wrist, does good with it, has the ability to turn into 10 different aliens. So I guess like that's really neat. I loved
It
it. I fell in love with it.
and I saw that connection the very first time I watched you wrestle because I'm very aware of Ben 10. Because my daughter, she's 13, she's very much into anime.
Uh-huh.
And Ben 10's one of the ones, but there's other stuff.
Yeah, no, I think that that's super cool that you kind of pull in influences from, cartoons and stuff like that. And Ben 10 is obviously such a popular show, especially, when, you were younger, that was kind of like the hot time for it. I think that a lot of people end up kind of pulling from, things that were really hot when they were kids to later put into the character, whether it's you grew up in the 80s and Rick Rude was a big influence, or like you're talking about here with the cartoons and animation and everything else. I think it kind of seems like the more we learn about wrestlers, the more it feels like wrestling is all about pulling from life and turning it into wrestling, and I think it's really cool that you found your way to do that.
It's so crazy. I love it.
Hey guys, do you want an energy drink that's gonna give you the ups without the crash? Well, I recommend Doobie. Doobie is one of our sponsors, and they're a great drink. If you don't want to spend all that money, other types of drinks, just get a tub. It's only $40, but with our promo code across the ring, it's even cheaper. And I suggest getting the sample pack. Try it out. There's 4 different flavors when you do that, and they've all been fantastic. Drink Doobie.
Getting back into it, so a lot of really cool stuff that you pulled from your hobbies and interests and stuff like that to kind of inspire you in wrestling. When you first started wrestling, you just got done getting through your training, you start having your first few matches. What was that like for you, and what were some kind of standout moments for you as you were first kind of coming into your own?
It was that debut. I hit that high point, and it all came crashing down my second match because I ended up tearing the MCL in my knee, and I sprained my meniscus too.
Oh.
Yeah, it was mostly because I was still wrestling amateurly and professionally, and I was training every single day at like such a high rate. My knee started to give out, and I kind of ignored it. I'm like, I'll be fine, whatever. I go to hit a leapfrog, I hear a pop, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's not good. So that sidelined me a little bit until I came back. I think I wrestled Marty Snow in my return match. So it's just like me getting my ass kicked. Ba 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 ba.
Especially against Marty. Marty's he's not no powder puff. That boy's he's strong style all the way.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
young Marty Snow.
Yeah. Ooh. Marty's
Yeah.
only 21 and if you talk to him you're going to think he's 30, but he's not.
So what was that recovery like for you? You injure your knee. It sounds like you're still in school.
Yeah.
How are you able to kind of balance between trying to recover, going to school, keep up with everything else?
Well, like the good thing was it happened during the summer, so I didn't have to necessarily worry about my grades or anything. It just like happened out of the blue. I just wanted to keep going. Like I remember falling asleep the day of and waking up like it was a nightmare. I tried to get out of bed and I was like, "Ah, that hurts." It hit me hard. It really did. The first injury. Do I want to keep going? Is this really something I want to keep pursuing? And I remember watching back like my boys Cosmo. I watched a match with him and Marty, and that really helped me want to. It got me motivated. It brought me back up. I was like, I need this again. I need to find a way to get back. So the doctor told me wait a month and come see us. I waited a month and then went back to wrestling. Wasn't supposed to do that. I couldn't bend my knee and I was training. I wore like a knee brace. I was moderately okay. I couldn't like if you watch those matches back, I
Mhm.
don't bend my knee at all. It's stiff as a board.
Oh,
And yeah, it was pretty hard. Got back. I think it took me a couple months to where I started bending it again and I wrestled Marty again. Our first ever battle on Star Mountain. That was when we rebranded to Legacy and I felt amazing. Like I'm back.
that's awesome.
Yeah, just like that Spider-Man moment, Spider-Man 2, I'm back, I'm back.
So,
So I know I watched you this past weekend, and there was a couple scares during your match. Especially one that looked rough that I caught on video. Was your standing sunset flip?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel when you take those kind of bumps? And does it scare you for the moment that you're in the match? And how do you come back from that?
Well, that spot in particular, I didn't like feel it. It was more
Mm-hmm.
like my head hit his knee and that
Mm-hmm.
stopped my momentum, so I kind of dropped.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, oh, I messed up. Find something to do, pin him. But
I mean,
like,
you definitely recovered well, but it's just I think if I did that, I would completely forget about freaking everything in that moment. You know what I mean?
yeah, I was just
So,
like, pin him, find something else to do. I don't know. I guess like I'm a smaller guy, so that risk is definitely worth it. I can do like all this stuff. I'd rather show out than keep everything at a low.
I
yeah,
got
that
you.
makes a lot of sense. So for you, you've kind of mentioned, your return, was a little tough because you're still hurt, but then finally at that rebrand show, you finally felt like you're really in your own again, right? And that
Mhm.
kind of reset you to kind of that high you felt in that first match. Coming off of that, what were some, either opponents or matches that you felt like, oh man, like, I was really hitting my groove because I was wrestling this guy and that guy.
Well, I guess it was that match with Marty, and then I had another match against Norinco. It was the last episode of Zen. I was feeling better. I still couldn't bend that much, but I was still like, oh, come on, like, what's wrong with you? Gotta keep going. And then I think the next week I had a tag match. It was me and at the time Jay Wilson, Stefan Prince, Hero Killer. You want to talk about that? Hero Killer? Me and him, we were Swagger at the time versus Norinco and Classico Lucha Punk. I guess, I just wanted to be back. It was hurting me. I was like, at the beginning, my knee was bugging me. I was like, slow down. You don't need this to happen again.
Mhm.
But I went through it. I was like, okay, I think I can do this again, which led me to that match with Marty Snow, where I came back.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome that you're able to kind of have that comeback and then, finally get momentum after,
Mhm.
it's tough when like, things feel like they're going really well and then, get the rugs pulled out from under you and you're like, damn, like all this work and I'm finally here and now I have to wait again. So then that slow climb to get to back to where you are, it sounds like the internal conflict there was tough, but eventually once you finally had that big moment, it feels all worth it.
Yeah.
So, for you, you've been through, in your early career already, you got a lot of career to go. You've had time to learn a few things and stuff like that. What is it that you do that you think everybody else should do, but doesn't necessarily do?
That's a really good question. My dad explained it as moving heaven and earth to get what I wanted, just having that drive to push you towards that. I guess for me, that meant a lot to me. Just like, oh, I started up here and immediately I was there. So I guess that's something I guess they would need.
Mhm.
Just like that drive, that will, that passion to go there, go above and beyond just to get them there. Yeah, because
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, to me, like when you first got hurt, it'd be really easy to be like, you know what? Gave it a shot. got hurt. It's not worth it. I'm
Time
over
to
it.
get out. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So you having that attitude of like, no, I've got this thing I need to get. I got to climb this mountain again. You know, that's inspirational.
So with that said, what do you think is the thing that everyone else should know?
Just love it, man. Know your worth in the business. You know, you have, I guess, this much that you can have. Just love it, and you'll get all that. Don't seclude yourself to like this much. Go for the stars. Go for everything.
I love that. I love that mindset. You know, this idea of like just be inspired and go for it. Why hold yourself back? Because, you know, there's enough people in the world that's going to try to hold you back. Why join them when you could be on your own side and, you know, push yourself towards your dreams? And it sounds like you're very motivated to get there.
Yeah, like when I first started, nobody knew that I was 16. I had to lie a little bit. Yeah, when I was filling out my paper, it was like, yeah, I'm 18. Yeah, till that rebrand, I opened up. It was like it was my 17th birthday. A little bit after that, it's like, guys, I'm not actually 19. I'm 17. They still welcome me up. They still welcome me in. They're
Yeah,
like,
that's
Cosmo was the first. Like, I knew it. I knew
I
it.
knew it. No wonder he don't ever want to go to clubs with us. I knew it.
Hey, like you said, you got to do whatever it takes, right? And it
Hey,
takes.
man. And you did. You reached for your dreams, man, and it's cool that you're still doing it even after having such a major injury.
Yeah.
I know it's hard, especially for you guys that are still in the independent scene. But one of the questions I got for you now is, what are some of your goals going forward in this business?
Well, like I'm still necessarily pretty young. I guess it would be just to expand my region, expand where I'm wrestling. I feel like right now I'm very secluded to El Paso. I barely started going out to Arizona, Vegas. So I want to do a lot more with that and just travel a lot more, be the hero the entire world needs, not just El Paso.
What are do you have any spots in particular that are on your short list of like I hope I get to be here soon, or you know, really want to visit this city?
Not necessarily just because I haven't been anywhere else. Just like those new places are like fascinating to me. I'm like, wow, like what is this place? So yeah, I don't really have a list. It's just wherever I get taken.
We've gotten to learn a lot of really cool stuff about you. You know, you have a really inspiring story, you know, being able to, you know, getting injured so early on, coming back from that, and then having, you know, a lot of great success, you know, fighting back from that injury and onwards. I think that most people listening to this conversation are like, man, this guy is awesome. I can't wait to see him wrestle because he's so freaking cool. But some fans, they're hard to win over, you know, they got
Yeah.
their arms crossed. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
cool story and all, but you know, I need more. So for fans that are listening that are holdouts, wanting more from you, what is the pitch to them as to why they should come see you wrestle?
Just see me grow up, man. I'm still young, still a little kid, kinda 18, about to turn 19. Yeah, just watch my journey. See me grow from this kid into like I don't know where I'm gonna be in 5 years. Only you guys can know. See me grow from there onwards.
I love that. I love that. That is a great pitch. You know, I often find that, you know, there's different wrestlers that I've been fortunate enough to see in front of, you know, 100 people, and now they're wrestling in front of thousands of people. And I think that any fan that likes watching wrestling, maybe they only see it on TV, having that chance to come out and see you wrestle and see you right now for $20, so that later on when it costs $200 to see you wrestle, you can say, look, I gotta go. You know, I know
Yeah.
it's gonna be expensive, but this is my guy. I gotta see him. So I love that.
Heck yeah. Well, guys, with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and end the episode for the night. GMO, man, I want to take the time to thank you so much for coming on the podcast, bro.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for having me.
Heck yeah, man, absolutely. And I want everyone to know that if you want to follow GMO on Instagram, it's GMOK_PWL. Check out his pictures, highlights, matches from the past, and matches going to the future. Also, make sure to follow us on Instagram at Across the Ring. We're on Threads, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we are on TikTok, we are on Twitter, we're on everything. We are in every social media you can think of. Also, make sure to listen to our new and past episodes on the podcast through Apple, Spotify, Amazon Prime, Pandora. We're everywhere, guys. Anyways, guys, once again, I want to remind you, you never know who will be across the ring.